Welcome back to Vision Pros. I'm very excited to introduce to you John Ostenson, and he's calling in from Atlanta. He got a really cool business going. So, John, welcome to the show. Tell me a little bit more about you, and then we'll dive right in.
Well, thanks for having me, Sue. Yeah, excited to be here, and based here in Atlanta, wife, 3 young kids, and we love being active here in the community, and very very thankful for the life that we get to lead. But no, my background spent many years in the corporate world, like many of your listeners, and always had that dream of business ownership. Didn't know what it looked like, and was very thankful for the time that I had in the corporate world. It was a really good run, but it was about 9 years ago that I saw the light and kind of tiptoed into franchising. Hadn't been on my radar previously, so I know we'll jump into it here, but that's kind of the backstory, and now I get to help others do the same.
That's really cool. I love that. This is what entrepreneurs do. You had a problem, you solved it for yourself. Now you help other people with that same problem. You can hold them by the hand and walk them past the pitfalls.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, let's dive right in. Tell me all about your vision.
Yeah, my vision, end of the day, it's about creating freedom, flexibility. It's about living life on your own terms. And we've all heard this. It's become cliche these days, but, doing what you want, when you want, with who you want, all those different lines. I heard it quoted actually this morning. Sahil Bloom said, in the past, the ultimate flex was, you had a luxury watch, a luxury car, you had a $200 bottle of wine. He said, today's flex is being able to take your kids swimming at 1 p.m. on a Wednesday. And that is just so true. And so I surround myself with business owners that are all living out the same thing. And like I said, it's my desire to help others see what I saw. For the longest time, I was helping others build their empire. And now I'm building my own. But now I'm giving back by helping our clients begin to build their empire, so they don't have to work for the man forever. So that's kind of a long way of getting around to my why, but it's freedom, independence, and living your best life.
Oh, that's so great. And then tell me, a little bit more, how did this come about? Where did this vision come from? One day you're sitting in corporate, and then what happened?
Yeah, I had the stock options. I'd gotten the MBA. I could have done the corporate thing forever. I enjoyed it, but you only live once. And as Kardashians say, YOLO, right? I always have that desire to build my own thing. And I think that's a desire that so many people have. Probably, a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines today. They talk about business ownership. They dream about entrepreneurship. Maybe they consume some content. So they kind of feel like they're in the game, but they haven't actually stepped in. And so, through a lot of praying, a lot of networking, had the opportunity to step in as president of Shelf Genie franchise system. So for me, this was a big step. I went from a large public company managing the earnings calls every quarter to running a private company. But it was a company where it was large. We had about 100 franchisees across North America. And I came in, I ran the home office, supported all of our franchisees. And for me, that was a light bulb moment where I realized franchising is so much more than fast food. There's so many other industries that were never on my radar. And I just saw how all these diverse backgrounds all across the country could come together under a shared system of support. Saw all the things that we were doing for them to set them up for success, and how they would interact with each other as kind of this built-in mastermind. And really, we were, like I said, setting them up for success and supporting them along the way, allowing them to live out their dreams. And so fast forward, I ended up partnering with the founder. We spun off. We've invested in franchises ourselves on the franchisee side. I've had multiple partners over the years, and on that piece, I've always had good operating partners, which allows me to spend my time consulting, which I started about 7 years ago. It's been an Inc. 5000 company a couple of years, great growth here. And that's a testimony to the good work that we've done on behalf of our clients, helping them identify the top opportunities in their markets, and then holding their hand as they go through the exploration process, talking to franchises.
That's really cool. What kinds of fields? Because of course, everybody thinks fast food or a big box store or something, I'm not even quite sure, right? But definitely fast food is probably the most common. What kinds of other industries are you involved with?
No, certainly when I say the F word, franchise, people think fast food, and we've got nothing against the food guys. We need them, we support them, but my humble belief is there are easier ways to make money. Opportunities that may require fewer operating hours or less hourly employees or less susceptible to consumer whims changing, right? So the general theme that we see out there right now, Sue, is understandable cash flowing businesses, things that aren't trendy, aren't going out of style. Some of them are a little more fashion forward than others, but for the most part, it's understandable, things that AI is not going to displace, but only benefit. and maybe help you differentiate from your competition. So it's things like home and property services, so much smart money flowing into these property services, health and wellness, categories like kids or pets or seniors, so many different businesses that roll up under these broad umbrellas that, again, people are always going to spend on the things they care about. They're going to spend on their kids, their aging parents, their pets in some cases, their health, their homes. B2B services too, business to business. A lot of people have a background in the corporate world in business services, and they like the idea of selling into businesses. So that could be, freight brokerage, insurance adjusting, restoration. There's just there's some consulting type firms, cost mitigation, cost reduction type analysts, so many different opportunities. And most people, 90% of those that we work with, end up going with something in an industry that was never even on their radar. So until it's right in front of them, and then they look at their spouse and say, gosh, I never would have thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense. And they have their own light bulb moments.
That's really, really cool. And then because it might even be an advantage to them because it wasn't an industry that they came up in and they're so used to working in the business. It must be a lot easier to make that leap to we're working on this because they don't have the skills necessarily, right?
Yeah, well, in a lot of cases, they have skills that they're bringing with them, transferable skills that may be more front end of the house or back end. But it's a new industry, right? And so they're coming in oftentimes with a fresh perspective. They don't have all the baggage, right? And so they come in with a little more humility, which is exactly what you need in franchising because you're stepping in, running someone else's established playbook, right? Where I see people fall down sometimes is they come in and they think they're the smartest one in the room and try to do everything their own way. And it's like, well, why'd you buy into a franchise system? It sounds cliche, but in my experience, when I was running Shelf Genie franchise system and I looked across all of our owners across North America, our top owners were halfway decent with people. I mean, end of the day, this is business 101, right? And then secondly, they're willing to follow the system. They had the humility to say, hey, I'm going to trust and the process works. And those were our top performers.
That's really, really neat. Oh, I mean, humility serves a long way across any business. And that's something we learn, I think. That's cool. Tell me a little bit about, your personal why, because you've mentioned freedom and, having that. I love that. The way that you encapsulated it with 1 p.m. on a Wednesday, a swim lesson. That's fantastic. How has this played out in your life, this why?
Yeah, I think that why is maybe more on the business side a little bit. It's more of how it manifests. Really, if I go deeper, it's all about stewardship. I believe that to whom much is given, much is expected, and feel I've been very blessed. I mean, nothing's been easy, right? I'm the hardest boss I've ever had. I work hard, but but the fruits of the labor are there. And so I would say, as far as the why goes, I think about life through 5 domains. And, this time of year, I'm setting goals for the next year, the next quarter. I kind of nerd out on this type of stuff, very, visioneering, if you will. But I think through it in the 5 F's: faith, family, fitness, finances, and franchising. Some people would call it business. I would call it franchising. So I've got 5 F's. But everything I think through from how do I prioritize? How does it align with my why? And, it's kind of in that rank order of, putting the first things first and putting the big rocks in and then the pebbles later, right?
Oh, that's huge. That's huge. And is there a story behind your why? Like sometimes this evolves as we go. You've been in business, corporate for a while, your own thing for a while. I'm sure that your why has kind of shifted over the years, I would imagine, as you mature, as you figure out what really matters to you. So is there a story behind this?
Yeah, I would say how I was raised, I was very, I'm very thankful. I had 2 great parents. They sent us to private school, but here's the thing. We were probably the poorest family in the private school. And, we were always having money conversations in our household. I heard my parents talking, and it was very much a scarcity mentality, and there was never quite enough. And so I'm thankful that they made the sacrifices to give us a good education. I mean, I certainly paid my way through college and everything beyond that. However, they gave us a good foundation. So that's something I wanted to take with me, as I built my own family. And we've got 3 young kids today, 14, 10, and 7. But one thing that I knew I wanted to do differently was have very different money conversations. I wanted to be, I believe that the debtor is slave to the lender, right? And I wanted to be on the other side of the equation than we were growing up. And so it is great now that we're able to help my parents and financially support them and come alongside in their older age here. So we want to steward that opportunity. But no, it's, I try to teach my kids, it's not normal that I have some of the time freedom that I do have, but it's because I've worked very hard and I've also been very strategic. Not every investment we've ever made has worked, right? I mean, there have been a lot of lessons learned. I've lost money on some things, but by and large, the trajectory has been upward. And it allows us to now be in a position where we can, again, kind of live life on our terms. And you are making some money while you're sleeping, and provides for that financial independence that I know is such a buzzword today and so many people are going after. So thankful that we got started early. But I would say that's kind of the story behind it, is a little bit of a drive and a decision around what to take from my childhood and what I wanted to do differently.
That's amazing. Have your kids been receptive, or it's hard for them because they've always lived in the same family they've lived in. They haven't seen how it might be a little bit different, but are they able to kind of grasp what you're talking to them about?
It depends on the day. We took a family trip to Nicaragua this past summer. There's a great nonprofit down there that we support financially, and we wanted to show our kids firsthand, some of the good work that's being done. And certainly, they got exposed to how many parts of the world operate and live. So we try to get them outside the bubble as much as we can. I've taken my son also on a mission trip to the Dominican. So we're trying to expose them, but that is a constant challenge, right? There are things that they have now that we did not have growing up, and there's probably not that same level of appreciation. So it is a constant conversation that my wife and I are having of how do we steward what we have now. We try to show them how we're very active in the community, supporting causes that we believe in, and hopefully that's rubbing off on the kids.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. This has been a fantastic beginning of our conversation. I hope you will come back.
I look forward to it.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.